Welcome everybody. You've chosen to take on the Klask board. I'm excited for you. It'll be a fun project. I want to first just take you through some of the overall build for the board, and then we'll just dive right in and start designing it. So you can see this is the finished board here, and these are all the laid out pieces for the laser to cut. Down here on your timeline, it shows you all the major things you did during the build. Down here there's a play button. I'm going to click the play and it'll just run us through the build. First thing I started with was building the side. We'll start that way as well. And then we'll build the two end pieces, build in joints. We'll mirror those two sides to make them really fast. Then we'll focus on making the game board itself. You can see here we've cut that in now. After that, we're going to build a little support underneath. That's what's happening now. And then we'll build the holes for the goals. And then we'll build something in between the legs at the bottom that will be for holding all the parts and game pieces. And we'll build it a little differently than this one is. This one's in wood. We'll do ours out of 3D printed plastic. And then we'll cut some slots in it, and they'll be a little different as well. These are the three game pieces that you need. We'll need two sets of those, one for each player. And then this next step is just an example of we're copy and paste every piece of the board, and then we'll break it down and flatten it out and level it out so that the laser can get lines to cut. And this is the making of the lines the laser is going to cut. At that point, we're done with the build. We're going to the laser, cutting it, and then actually, building it in real life. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to open up a new file here by hitting the plus here. And the first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and save that file. So I'm going to click up here on the save button. And mine is in the location board games. If you want to change the location, click this little down arrow here next to the location, and you can choose what project, or you can choose to do a new project. I have several board games, so I have like a project full of board games. So I'm going to do Klask here. And then I'm going to hit save. And the nice thing about Fusion is that all your files are saved on the Fusion cloud, so you have access to them whether you're at school or at home or wherever you are. Okay, and you know what? I'm actually going to, nope, that's good. First thing we need to do is we need to figure out, we're working with plywood today, so we need to figure out some dimensions of our plywood. Namely, we need to know the thickness of it, because we need to actually model the correct thickness of the wood. So what I'm going to do is go grab 5 pieces of plywood. I want you to do the same thing, and a pair of calipers. And you're going to squeeze them together and measure how thick they are. I'll be right back with that. Okay, so I have my 5 pieces of plywood. I'm going to squeeze them together really well, make sure there's no gaps in between them. And then I'm going to measure the thickness in millimeters. Make sure you zero your calipers. Measure the thickness in millimeters. And I'm getting 12.71. So that's the number I'm going to try and remember. So again, that's 5 pieces of plywood. And I'm going to come up here to the modify menu. I'm going to come down to change parameters. It's going to bring up this parameters menu. I'm going to do user parameter. It's going to ask me for the name of it. And I'm going to just call this one thickness. And it was 12.7. I'm going to make sure my unit's 7.1. My units are millimeters, and that's for 5 pieces. But I want to know how thick one piece is. So I'm just going to do a slash for divided by, and I'm going to say 5. And that tells me that each piece is 2.542. That should be around the value you have. You might have up to 2.6, but 2.542 is roughly where it should be. Be sure to measure yours, though. They may be a little different. If they're wildly different, if it's like 3 or some other number, let me know and I'll come check it with you. All right, I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to click OK. Now I've got my thickness in, I can actually start my build. We're going to start by building that side facing edge. And what it looked like, well, let me just bring it back up real quick. We're going to start by building this face. So I'm going to rotate around to it. It's got kind of this round side here, another round center here, and then flat edges on this side. And all the dimensions I have for it. So let's go ahead and get rolling. To do this, I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to create a sketch on the side of the wall here. And I'm going to start by just drawing a line. this point, I don't really care how big that line is. I'm going to hit escape. I'm actually going to change my document settings. We're going to be making something fairly large today, so instead of working with millimeters, I'm going to choose to work in centimeters. I would recommend the same for you. I wouldn't set it as default because we typically work with smaller things. This is a very big build. All right, so we have our first line here, and now I'm going to center this line on the origin. So I'm going to hit the midpoint tool here, and I'm going to say take this line and make the midpoint line up with this middle point. And now it's locked in the middle of the screen, which would be good for us. Next thing I want to do is I'm just going to draw a circle here. This circle should be 5 centimeters in diameter. So I'm going to click it and type in 5 and hit enter. I'm going to draw another circle over here. I'm going to do 5 centimeters as well. Exactly where they are does not matter. We're going to position them next. So we've got our 2 circles. These are for those bottom 2 feet. Next thing I want to do is make this line the correct length. So this line down here needs to be 50 centimeters across. So I'm going to do here the D for dimensioning tool. I'm going to click on this line, drag, come down here to the bottom, not drag, just go down to the bottom, click again to set the measurement and make it 50. And now I've got to zoom out. So to zoom out, I can just roll my mouse wheel up and I'll zoom right out. Now what I want to do is I want to have this circle down here on this end point. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, make this circle coincidence. Coincident means connected or touching, I should say. So I'm going to click on the circle, see how it's blue, and I'm going to click on this end line right here, and it lined the circle up with this end point. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Make this one coincident with that end of the circle line. Awesome. Now the only weird thing is that they're like below, but I want them to barely be touching. So what I want here is tangent. And what that's going to do is make the circle, let me show you what it does. I'm going to click here, and then, so I clicked on the circle, and then clicked on the line next, and that made them tangent. Notice how this line smoothly goes right into the circle. There's no little kink. Right now there's this like, it's just weird. So I'm going to do the same thing here, make this one tangent to that. And what tangent means is that something is smoothly touching a circle. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the lines over. So I'm going to just start in a weird place like right here. I really want to start right at the very top, and you can, but I'm going to start over here just to show you what tangent does. So here I'm going to draw straight over. Again, it doesn't matter how long. I'm going to hit escape to end the line tool. I'm going to do another one on this side. So right about there, I'm going to drag over, boom. I want to make sure I see these 2 little sweeper icon things. What that is a horizontal constraint. So it's this button up here. It means that when Fusion sees you draw a line straight across, it thinks you want to make it straight across. So it forces it to be straight across. It puts that constraint on it. So now it's definitely horizontal. Now again, I want this line to come off smoothly up top. Notice there's this little kink here. So what I'm going to do is use my tangent tool. I'm going to say take this line and make it tangent to this circle. Now it comes off perfectly smooth. Same thing over here. Now because we want these 2 lines are going to be the same on both sides, we're going to make them the same right away. We're going to say, hey, let's make, I'm going to grab the equal tool up here. It's like a little equals bar. Let's make this line equal to that line. Now they'll keep the same length. Okay? And you can see what happens if I hit escape to leave the equal tool. I'm going to grab one of the ends, and as I make one bigger, the other gets bigger as well, because they're forced to be equal the whole time. So I'm going to make them small like this again. We'll resize them in a second. I'm going to make 2 new circles. These 2 circles are 10 centimeters wide. Does not matter where you put them quite yet. Okay. And now these circles need to be just like this one, attached to the endpoints and tangent. So I'm going to go get my coincident tool, click on my circle, click on my tangent, click on my circle, click on the endpoint, just like that. Now notice that this isn't tangent. It comes here and there's a little kink here. So I need to go, okay, I want this to be tangent to this. I want this circle to be tangent to this line. And notice when I do that, it puts a little tangent symbol there to let me know that it has a tangent constraint on it. All right, awesome. Next thing we need to do is space these two circles apart, and the center of this circle and the center of this circle should be 20 centimeters apart. So we're going to use D for dimensioning. That means we're going to tell it how big something is. Click on this center circle here. See now just the dot is blue? Don't click on this outside line. Click on this center part here, and that dot is blue. I'm going to come, this time I'm going to come down below. Click one more time to place the measurement, and then type in 20. And now we're doing great. We're going to keep doing the same thing. Now we're going to build, let me show you, we're going to build this top part. So we just put that circle in for this and this. We're right here. We're going to go over, up, over, down, and back. And we're going to do it real quick and sloppy, and then we'll just fix things as we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here. Like I'm going to go a little bit past where the foot is. I'm going to go up some. Doesn't really matter. See how I see this little, there's like a little blue square in the bottom right corner? That's what I want, 90 degrees. Click again. Go over a little bit past the foot. Come down here and then back over to the circle. Now notice that my two lines, this line and the circle, there's already a tangent. Fusion assumed I wanted them tangent because they were close, so it made them tangent. If you don't have both of these tangent symbols, you need to come up here and click on tangent, this line and that circle, and mine's giving me an error down here because it's already been done. Okay, now we're going to dimension some stuff. So, well, before we do that, actually, we want this line to be equal to this line, just like this one was equal to that one. So we're going to say this is going to be equal to this. That'll keep them spread out the same. And then we're going to dimension a few things. The biggest thing that our laser can cut is 60 centimeters, but because the plywood's never perfectly the right length, we're going to go a little bit in and we're going to say 59 centimeters is our biggest one. So I used D for dimensioning. I clicked on this blue line and then clicked up here to place it, and then typed in 59 and hit enter. Awesome, it just sized it in a little bit. Last thing we need to do is we need to dimension this outside edge, and it's supposed to be 5 centimeters. Mine already says 5 centimeters, so piece of cake. If yours doesn't, type in 5 centimeters. At this point, everything in your drawing should be black lines. If anything is left blue, that means it's not fully constrained. Get my attention, I'll help you get it fully constrained. Once you have everything black, you're ready to extrude. So I'm going to go here with E for extrude, click in this main part and these two circle parts. I don't want those two circle parts. They were just there to make that inside curve shape. And then I'm just going to say, I'm going to tip it at an angle so I can see which way I'm extruding. And I'm going to say, yep, I want to extrude. Click down here in this number here and type in TH for thickness. Notice it brings up thickness user parameter. Hit enter. And one more enter will actually extrude it. Wait, I take that back. Go back. Control Z, it undoes it. Extrude E, key one more time. You want this piece, these two circles, and we actually want 3 thicknesses thick. We're going to make this side piece 3 thick. So we're going to do thickness, TH, enter. That inserts thickness, and then times 3. You can see I'm typing all this in this little box or in this box over here in the window. And then I'm going to click OK. And notice now I've got a piece that's 3 pieces of plywood thick. Awesome. That was a first great step. Good job. We'll pick up here in the next video.